Get that clapping. What's up, Donnie?
Hi, how you doing?
Good, dude. So I I got this thing where my guests that I bring on, or I bring them in on like a vibe. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I hear about somebody, I'm like, man, there's something makes me want to talk to these people, and I've heard about you since I came to town. Went on Glenn Curry's show a couple times, and I think that's where I first heard your name. And he talked so fast, I couldn't understand him. He said
Yeah,
something
Glenn's from New
about
York City, so
yeah,
he's a
he
little.
said something about flat Earth Donnie. I said, well, flat Earth Donnie. He's like, oh yeah, he thinks the Earth's flat. I was like, you know what? I've been trying to
Well,
convince.
I want to correct Glenn. I don't think the Earth is flat. I know
He
the Earth
knows
is.
the Earth's
I
flat.
know the Earth is
Excellent,
flat.
excellent. Well, we've been taught that it's not, but I, on the other hand, I've been seeing that there's more and more people like really pressing it down. Like I told you, we watched a documentary on it. I actually watched this. It's the same documentary I told you I watched today. I watched it maybe a year or so ago, and I was like, oh, this is wild. People are really
So
getting into
I'll
it.
go ahead and tell you my testimony how I found
Yeah.
out. May 6, 2017. I still remember the date. That was 7 years ago, and I was at a friend's house, and he said, Donnie, he goes, what would you say if I told you the Earth was flat? And I looked at him and I said, I've seen the Rocky Mountains, and they don't look flat to me. A couple hours later, I went home, and flat Earth was on my mind, and I decided to look it up. So I went to YouTube and I typed in flat Earth, and to my surprise, hundreds of videos popped up. Now this is before they are, you can't find real good flat Earth videos anymore. They're censoring them. All right. So when I typed in flat Earth, hundreds of videos popped up, and I was scrolling through, and one that stuck out said, "What on flat Earth does the Bible say?" And I said, "The Bible." I clicked on it, and when the narrator started quoting scripture, immediately I knew that it was true because God was in it. But then real science proves it, and I'll get into the real science part of it. But I wanted to start with the Bible. For me, when it was scripture, because if I believe the Bible, and I got it right here. So Genesis chapter 1 gives us a description of where we're living, and if you could pull up the Hebrew model of creation, showing the firmament and the waters above, it's the black and white photograph, and we'll take a look at that. So, for example, in Genesis chapter 1, God's Spirit moved across the face of the waters on day 1. And he said, let there be light. So God's Spirit is moving across
That
the
one right
face
there.
of the waters. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Actually, any of those would be fine. Yeah, that's a good one. That one's fine.
Now this you're saying is
Yeah, so this is basically what we're living in right here. So we have the thing above us, the dome, called the firmament. The Bible calls it the firmament.
the Bible calls it the firmament.
Yes. So God also has another name for the firmament. Do you know what he called the firmament? He called the firmament heaven. So anytime you hear like the kingdom of heaven, it's the kingdom of the firmament. So in the beginning, let's go through Genesis chapter 1 real quick. I'll go
Okay.
through the
Yeah,
days
yeah,
real
yeah.
quick. So on day 1, God's Spirit moved across the face of the water. So there's a bunch of water, and God's Spirit moved across it, and there's darkness on the face of the deep. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. So there was light before the sun in heaven. And God divided that light in the evening and the morning with the first day. On day 2 is when he divided the waters from above and the waters from below with the firmament. So he created a big air pocket in the waters with the firmaments to separate the waters from above from the waters from below. That's why our sky is blue, because we have an ocean of water above our heads. So that was on day 2. On day 3, God said, let dry land appear. And dry land appeared. And God called the dry land earth. And he called the gathering of the waters, he called them Heses. That's how it's written in the King James. On day 4 is when God made the sun, moon, and stars. And day 5, he made the whales and the fowl of the air. Day 5, he made the cattle. And day 6, he made man. And day 7, he rested. So creation was done in 6 days, and God rested on the seventh. So the Bible, I literally believe when God said it was one day, it was one day. I think the earth is somewhere between 6,000 to 7,000 years old. It's not millions or billions of years old. That's all science fiction. So the Bible mentions the earth over 200 times in it. And each time the earth is always motionless. It stands still. For example, Isaiah 40 says that God sits above the circle of the earth. Can you pull up the flat earth map? It's the Gleason's map. So God says in Isaiah 40 that he sits above the circle of the earth looking down on us as grasshoppers. So that's why, the third one over or second one over. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. So this is the Gleason's flat earth map. This is scientifically accurate, and it's as is. This map was in classrooms for decades. And I don't think they use this projection anymore. So the middle, the midst in the middle is the North Pole. So we're taught with science that our magnetic field is caused by liquid molten iron core, correct?
Yes.
Well, guess what? Real science proves that liquid molten iron is neither magnetic nor does it produce a magnetic field. So how can that happen? If I can't reproduce it in the laboratory, then it can't be true, okay? Because science must be observable, testable, and repeatable. All right. Sure. So, can you go to? I just sent it to you in your text. It's another map of the North Polar projection. It's an older looking map.
You can go in my text.
Right, yeah, it's going to be.
Look at that. That's somebody sent me.
Yeah,
that.
There's the curve. There's the curve that everybody's looking for. Right there.
It would be.
So no, yeah, I see someone right says have.
There,
the next one up. That one right there. Yes. So let me explain this map. This map was done by a cartographer. His name is Gerardus Mercator in the 1590s.
1590s.
That's when this map was made. And as you see to the left is Canada, and you see in the left where there's like that circle, that's Hudson Bay in Canada. And that's Greenland. Go down to that island, that big island. That's Greenland. Okay? And now, if you go up here in the middle, that's the magnetic mountain. There is a magnetic mountain. It's called many names. Mount Muru. It's known also as Black Rock. Okay? It's a magnetic mountain in the middle of our Earth that causes our magnetic field. That's why all compasses point north. Not because of some made-up iron molten core, okay? Because liquid iron does not produce a magnetic field. It does not. So if you go to Google Earth, go ahead. You got your phone on you right now?
Yeah.
And you people at home do this too. Pull out your phone and go to Google Earth and try to go down on top of the North Pole. And what you're going to find is a CGI white covering. You're not going to even see ice up there. You're going to see a CGI white covering that doesn't allow you to zoom in on the North Pole or the South Pole or over any water. If you try to zoom down over the oceans, you're going to see a fake water. You're going to see the fake snow that they have. So Google Earth, what is Google Earth trying to show us? They're not showing us what's really out there. So flat Earth is more than just the Earth being flat. It's also about them hiding land. So let me explain real quickly these four lands in the Bible. You've heard of the four rivers in the Garden of Eden, have you not? Where the Tigris, Euphrates, and the river Hiddekel, and there's one other river. I can't think about the name. But those are the four rivers. So that's where Eden is in the north. And it's off limits to go up here. You can't go beyond 80 degrees north. They won't allow you. It's patrolled by all the government's navies, and you're not allowed to go up there. And when they take people to the North Pole, they're just taking them to a designated spot that their GPS shows them that they're at 90 degrees north, which is never the same. It's never the same spot. You can take a North Pole expedition out of Canada versus one out of Russia, and they'll take you to two different places. That's kind of odd, don't you think?
So you're saying all the governments are involved in this?
So, do you know what the United Nations flag? Can you pull up the United Nations flag? The United Nations flag has a flat Earth map right on their logo,
Flag.
right on their flag. Yeah, it's this map that they have. There it is. That's the United Nations, the nations of the world, all come together. That's their flag. And you notice how they don't have Antarctica on there? They just have Antarctica as a reef. And in the north, there's like a gate. See how it's not connected at the top? There's maps that show gates that go through Antarctica out to other continents. I've seen maps that show over 30 continents on them. They're hiding land from us. They're hiding resources. That's another big reason they want everybody to pauper the globe. They don't want people to know where God is. They don't want us to know that we're created in his image. And what if people really understood that God is really, truly above us? Like we kind of innately already know that, but to know that, to really know that is it's a very freeing process. Now, you're probably wondering, how are they faking this, right? How don't they launch rockets? Haven't we landed on the moon, right? Don't we have a space program? There's SpaceX. Isn't there the International Space Station? Mm-hmm. Sure, it's all television. The whole world's a stage. So when they launch from Cape Kennedy out of Florida, they go out to sea. They always arc up and go out to sea. Because you can't go up into space because there is no outer space. Now think about this. Let's talk about the science of the globe. Let's talk about the globe right now. Let me ask you the four motions of the globe. Can you tell me the four motions that the Earth is supposedly moving right now?
I have no idea.
Most people won't.
You're talking about like the rotation?
Yeah, exactly. What they say is our spin. We're spinning on our axis.
Yes.
They say it's roughly like 1,000 miles an hour.
Right.
Do you feel the Earth moving at all?
Right.
Exactly. There's no detection of. We can't detect the Earth moving at all. That's just one motion they say. Now they also say that the Earth is speeding around the sun at 66,000 miles an hour. Meanwhile, we're still doing 1,000-mile-an-hour spin. We can't feel that either. And now, don't forget this: we're supposed to supposedly chasing the sun around our galaxy because the sun's moving, right? Mm-hmm. And we're supposed to be chasing it and corkscrewing it. Wouldn't our stars in our night sky be different every night if we were really corkscrewing around the universe, flying at all these speeds?
That's the one thing that I kind of was like, all right, so if we are spinning, why are we able to follow stars?
Right.
You know what I mean?
So
To
the
get
sun,
some
moon, and
direction.
stars is the perfect clock. That's why our clocks work. So clocks normally would have a 24 hours on them. We today have 12 hours, but if you go to a 24-hour clock, that represents the flat Earth, with our hand representing the sun moving around the Earth. Because the sun is small, as we've seen in the Hebrew model of creation, it's just small above us, and it moves in a circuit. So the sun, moon, and stars, they move. The old saying that, does the whole universe revolve around you? Yes, it does. Yes, it really does. We're that special. God created us in his image, and everything does revolve around the Earth. Everything moves above the Earth. The Earth is stationary, except for earthquakes. We have those. It's the only time the Earth moves.
So let me ask you this. Yeah. What led you to truly believing that the government, like how did that, so you Googled it, you YouTubed it, started watching videos, and what led you to truly believe where you would go out and be bold enough to do what you do?
So immediately when I found out God was involved, when I heard that narrator quoting scripture, I knew it to be true. Because I never really thought about it before. It's just never. So I knew it then, but there was a lot of research that I did. There was several weeks of just looking and digging and finding out both sides because I wanted to learn everything about what they say about the globe versus what the flat Earth actually is, what we observe. Okay, you've flown before, haven't you?
That's the part that I brought up earlier. I have never been on an airplane.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. Yeah. You've been out and seen the lake, right?
Yeah,
You've been up Thompson Park. You can see out to the lake. It's completely flat. Now, for example, if you went to the beach right now and you seen a ship going by and it disappeared behind the horizon, they're saying that, it's going behind the curve. No, if you take one of these nice cameras, you can zoom that ship right back in. The only limiting factor is what the visibility is that day and the zoom of your camera. If you have a perfectly clear atmosphere that day, you can see hundreds and hundreds of miles. And that's absolutely 100% true. There's lots of times that, for example, people like across Lake Michigan can see the Chicago skyline 60 miles away with no curve. And that's just from the shoreline. And I've flown maybe 40 to 50 times, and you're never going to see the curve. Now, I remember the first time I ever took a flight, I was 11 years old.
Yeah.
And I was so excited. I was going to Florida. I got to go to Florida to spend Christmas down there. And I told my fifth grade teacher that I was going to go to Florida and fly for the first time. She goes, oh, when you get up in the plane, you're going to see the curve. I remember looking out that window, and I felt so disappointed that I could not see the curve when we got up to altitude. And I just never kind of thought about it again until years later.
Donnie, where are you from?
I'm from here. I'm from Watertown.
Born and raised?
Yep. I was born and raised, but around the county, around the state.
Around
right.
everywhere.
And I pretty much lived in the county, around the county, my whole life. I joined the Navy, and not only was I just in the Navy, I was an airman. I worked on the EA-6B Prowler, which is an electronic attack aircraft. So I know about the basics of flights. I know how aircraft operate, So I have a background in aviation. Mm-hmm. So when I are going to get into how they're faking things and flights and stuff, I have a military background in flights. Right. So it's not like I don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to like the different proofs. Like for example, like the gyroscope in a plane, it tells you where your horizon is, right? Mm-hmm. That can only happen if the Earth is flat and stable. Okay, so let's talk about some of the proofs that now the government does admit that the Earth is flat. NASA admits this. So there's a document, if you wanted to look this up, it's called NASA Publication 1207. All right, it's from 1989, and it's a publication about aircraft and basically how the aircraft move through the air and how they operate. Here it is, derivation and definition of a linear aircraft model. Now, if you want to go scroll down to the summary, and now this is right from NASA. Oh, go back up. You just missed it. The introduction and summary. So I'm going to read this to you. This is from NASA. It says, this report documents the derivation and definition of linear aircraft model for a rigid aircraft of constant mass flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Why are they saying that? Now, they say it again, too, down here in the introduction. You go down to the second paragraph in the introduction. This report details the development of the linear model of a rigid aircraft of constant mass flying over a flat, non-rotating Earth. Now, I have over 44 of these documents from our government that admit this. But mainstream media is not going to put this out because when you're building aircraft, you have to build them to operate correctly. And why are they assuming a flat, non-rotating Earth if the Earth is a globe and moving all the time? So in the fine details, they admit it. This is a publication. So in the military, in order to get qualified to work on anything, there's hundreds of publications that you have to read and take tests on. All right. And this is one of these publications that are out there. So, I mean, this is just one proof. This comes from NASA. And I know of 44 of them. And some of them come from the Army Research. Here's another one. Type this one in. It's called The Propagation of the Electromagnetic Field Over Flat Earth. It has flat Earth in the title. And this comes from the Army Resource Laboratory. And it talks about the propagation of the magnetic field over our flat, non-rotating Earth. Why are they talking about that? It's even in the title. There it is. Boom. The propagation of there it is. See, most people don't know this. It's not taught. It's not. You're not going to hear it on mainstream television at all. They're wow. Faking everything. So earlier I sent you how they fake space with green screens and blue screens and CGI. That's how they're faking space. So these astronauts are on wires and in front of screens.
Wow. You know,
Are you speechless?
yeah, I'm like,
Are you learning too much?
Yeah, this was a little more than I expected.
Yeah,
for
I told you
sure,
as soon as I seen it, I was going to blow your mind. Because
Yeah.
this is because no one's really taken the time to try to understand what I've been telling. Because no one's really given me the time, to explain everything all at once. But this comes straight from our military. This one's from our Army Research Laboratory. There's some from universities. There's some from the Air Force. There's some from the Navy.
Now
There's some from the CIA.
There's a and I don't know because I'm just a regular guy. But I have sometimes thought, I'm like, you know what? If there was ways, if we could fly out in outer space like we did, like they said,
We would already have it.
would-
Companies would be there.
I feel like we would be up there flying all.
It's
the
2024. Why don't we go out to the moon on vacations?
time. Why aren't we going to the moon?
Exactly. When I'm a kid from the 80s, we were supposed to already be on the moon. I'm supposed to be taking a selfie with the Earth behind me by now.
They're like, I went down to, now I'm a big space guy, bro. I love Star Wars. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I want it all to work out, but, I went down to the Most Museum on a field trip with my daughter, and we had to sit in the little dome thing, and they were
Right.
talking about taking trips to Mars.
So the planetarium, you're talking about the planetarium?
Yeah.
Now, let me explain the planetarium. So a planetarium is a flat Earth model. You sit motionless in a chair while everything above your head moves around you.
Kind of made me think of that.
See?
But what I was thinking while I'm sitting there watching this thing about Mars, I'm like, there's no way that we don't. There's no way we haven't studied enough of the moon. Like,
Can you pull up the video? It would be the last video that I just sent you on your phone. It's called Moon, Mars, and a Star. I'm going to show this video I shot myself over Watertown. Now, it's the video, not that one. It's probably, go down one more. Can you scroll down? Oh, I didn't. Okay, I didn't send that one to you, but we'll go to that. We'll get to that star one in a minute. So the stars and planets are the same thing. So a planet, there is no other place to go besides the other continents and other lands that are out there. Because I do believe that there's more than 7 continents. Absolutely, 100%. I believe that there's at least 30 of them. It's well documented. But planets are not real, okay? What they are wandering stars. And what makes them different is that if you pay attention to what is it? I think it's 6 of them that are actually planets. They retrograde. Sometimes they go backwards. Sometimes they don't move. And sometimes they go up, they go down. That's what gives them the notation of a planet, because their movements are not fixed like the rest of the stars, like the Big Dipper, Pleiades and all the other stars. They're fixed and they don't move. So if you want to click on the star video, this is what real stars look like when you zoom in on them. And anybody can do this with a decent camera. I shot this with the Nikon P1 or Nikon P900. So look how beautiful that star is. Now it's shaky because I'm moving my camera.
Right.
But that's what a real star looks like over Watertown. Okay, that's what and every star is different. Every star is in its own glory. Every star is different with its own colors. Have you ever seen anything like that?
it looks like a cell.
Right. So can you go to Google and pull up, let's say, stars from NASA or stars from the Hubble telescope? And I'm going to show you, you're going to be able to see this now, because I'm going to be, it's like, how when a musician shows you a trick, you're not fooled by it anymore. Well, I'm going to show you how NASA fools us with CGI images. I just showed you a real picture of a star. Now look how fake that stuff is. Does that look like it's real? Like it's taken with a real photograph? Or does it look like someone made that on a computer? So that's all made on a computer. That's not real. So it's called the art of astrophysics. So NASA has a laboratory. You've heard of JPL Laboratories? That's one of NASA's laboratories. They have a division there called the art of astrophysics, and there's a video on it where they take you and you meet the graphic designers that show you how they make the Earth and how they make the universe and how they make the stars and how whatever they imagine is what they put together. It's all fake. None of that's real. None of those are real stars. That's all made on a computer. So all these images that we've been shown from the Hubble telescope, they're all fake. And you ever notice when you ever hear, like when Christmas is coming, then all of a sudden NASA comes out with a universe that looks like a Christmas tree, or if the Easter bunny's coming, there's kind of one that looks like a Easter basket. You ever notice like the different things they do?
No, I ain't never noticed that.
Now, I know a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
But for example, now this is pretty funny. Like NASA trolls us.
Okay.
You can look this up. This is true. I'll have you do this first. Look up, what does it rain on the planet Uranus? Now, the planet Uranus, they say...
That ain't how you spell it.
So they claim that the atmosphere is so dense and heavy that the carbon gets condensed and it rains diamonds. They say that it rains diamonds. Right there. Rains diamonds. Do you believe that? You believe that the atmosphere is so dense on this planet that you can't even ever see that it rains diamonds? Come on, that's made up. That's made up. If it was really raining diamonds and we could really go there, you don't think some company decided, let's go there and get all these diamonds?
Right.
Exactly. If you start looking into what they say, it gets pretty ridiculous.
Right. So let's go to this.
Okay.
What is the reasoning that there's so many people involved in covering this up? You know what I mean? Like, how are they? What are they gaining?
It basically comes down to good and evil. Okay. You know, like I said, I started out with the Bible.
Right.
It's a spiritual battle between good and evil. This has been going on for years. Okay. There's a reason why they call it the World Wars. It wasn't because the 6 countries got involved and they had a big war. All right. I believe that it was a big cover up. All right. Because up until like the 1920s and 30s, flat earth was taught in schools. There's people that are over 100 years old that testified that they were taught the earth was flat in school. And that's from the 20s and 30s they taught that here.
Yeah. I mean, there wasn't it assumed that like
so
so long ago?
Here's another reason too. So like, why the lie? Like why are they trying to? One is resources. They don't want it. If you're on a globe and this is the 7 continents that you have, it's like the movie with Jim Carrey, Under the Dome. What's that movie?
The Truman Show.
The Truman Show. And he wanted to be an explorer. And she goes, "Oh, you're too late. We've already found all the land." That's what they're trying to tell us is that we've already found everything. Because if you're on a globe, that's it. You know, where's God in all that? Is God millions and billions of miles away and all that? If they're saying that the universe goes on for billions of miles or trillions of light years or whatever they say it is, where's God in all that? It doesn't leave room for God. And they want to take God out of the equation.
Right, because I was thinking, I am not the biggest into the Bible, but I studied it as a kid, and I'm raised on it. You know what I mean? But when they said that Jesus rose from the dead and then went up into the sky, I'm like, he went through space, you know what I mean? Like, where'd he go?
You're right. So when he did live, he went to the kingdom of heaven, which is what the kingdom of the firmament, which is, I believe, at the top of all that. Yeah. So there's other different Hebrew model creations that show like him on his throne, or like the kingdom of heaven up on the top, and stuff like that.
But what I'm saying is, they said he physically went into, like, rose into the sky. And then I'm thinking, and honestly,
So it makes sense.
Yeah,
where do you go?
It makes sense, because I'm like, well, what did he go out in outer space? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, what the heck?
So nobody has a picture of the Earth. No one has a whole picture of it. We have high altitude balloon photos at like 200,000 feet, completely flat, showing the sun is small with a hot spot underneath it. You can't get a hot spot from something 93 million miles away. Here's a question for you. How many times did they change the distance, the heliocentric model? How many times did they change the distance of the sun from the earth? Do you even know?
Heck no.
They changed it at least 3 times. The first time they're through their heliocentric model, they said it was like 1 million miles away. And then I think they came up with like 66,000 or 66 million miles. And now they finally settled on 93 million miles away. Does the sun feel 93 million miles away, or does the sun feel like it's right above us?
You got me there.
Right. It feels like you've seen it in the clouds.
Right.
You've seen the angles of the rays in the clouds, have you not?
Believe me, I'm from South Carolina. I felt
Exactly.
that.
You are even closer to the sun down there.
Yeah, I felt
Absolutely.
that. So let's go to this.
Okay.
Have you done any? All right. So say that there's people that are controlling this, right?
Right.
They've got it figured out. Who figured it out?
What do you mean, like who?
Who was like? Who do you think first was like? All right,
The Earth is flat.
the Earth is flat, so let's. Why? How did that happen? Like, you know what I mean?
So the farthest back I know would be Moses from the Bible, writing because he's credited writing that. But as in like, today, like what's going on today?
I'm saying like the 2-part thing. Like, who was the first one that was like the evils or the one to take control?
So from what I
hiding
understand, there was a
everything?
Jesuit priest who came up with the heliocentric Big Bang model. So it came out of the Roman Catholic Church. It came out of the Vatican. There was a priest there that I can't think of his name at the top of my right now, but he was accredited with coming up with the heliocentric Big Bang model. There's other people like Eratosthenes that you probably learned in school, where he did the famous sticks and shadow experiment, where he put a stick in Alexandria and one that was like 500 miles away, and he measured the shadow difference, and he said, "Oh, the Earth is a ball." No, it's not how you prove the Earth is a ball. It actually proves the Earth is flat. So, for example, my water, where your light is, my water's casting a shadow here. Mm-hmm. But if I were to move my water bottle closer under that light, the shadow is going to be much shorter, is it not? And it's all flat plane. That's the only difference. That's the difference that he has. So they started teaching it. I believe from the testimonies that I've heard from people that are over 100 years old, because we have these videos, we've interviewed people from all around the country, and they testified that they had taught in the 20s and 30s in schools that Earth was flat. And then sometime after the Second World War is when they changed it.
Well, who is trying to make a profit on it? The government's like, what government figured
our
out?
educational system is the Rockefeller-based education system. Rockefeller, you know who? You've heard of 30 Rock down in New York City and stuff like. He basically runs the educational system. His educational system. He doesn't want people to be smart and think for themselves. He's literally quoted saying that he just wants people smart enough to be workers. That's all he wants. This information of the flat Earth, if it was out, the government is going to have to explain why did billions and trillions of dollars go to NASA? Why did billions and trillions of dollars go to SpaceX? You know, the government would need to be held accountable. So that's another reason why they're keeping it hush. They don't want this coming out. And people like me get censored all the time. I get censored on all platforms.
By who?
Like YouTube. They censor my views, and all my videos, they have a caption underneath it that says that flat Earth is an archaic idea, and they try to debunk it with a little link that goes to Wikipedia. And the reason why is because Congress went after Facebook several years ago, and they literally asked them. They said, for example, if they asked YouTube, for example, if someone posts that the Earth is flat, we're going to put up a little tag saying that it's not flat. That was literally said in the halls of Congress. All right. They wanted to basically cover up this whole thing. I know it's kind of crazy to think about, but it's true. They're lying about everything.
So, what else could they be lying about? I mean,
So I
mean,
know.
I'm sure. I'm assuming you've
Right.
if you believe that, you would question everything. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, 100%. You do have to question everything. And when you come to find out that they want to always say that we have lack of stuff, that there's limited this, and there's a scarcity. But in reality, there's an abundance. For example, oil. They say that oil comes from a fossil fuel. Well, that's not true. Oil is the second most abundant liquid on Earth or in the Earth. It's naturally occurring. It's not a fossil fuel. It does. They branded that to give it the a scarcity that it's very abundant. Oil is the second most abundant liquid on the Earth.
I can't argue that either. But like, I mean, what do you think about the whole space alien thing? Is that part of?
So at first, though, in the beginning, before I found out about flat Earth, and maybe I kind of thought there was maybe aliens in a different galaxy far away.
Not maybe not aliens, but UFOs.
Okay, so I thought maybe there could be UFOs in the faraway galaxy, maybe, right? And when I found out about flat Earth, I realized that there was no space. So then I was like, well, there isn't no UFOs. But then I found all these maps with all these different lands on them.
Right.
So have you ever heard of an admiral named Richard E. Byrd?
I don't think
He was
so.
a famous Navy explorer. He explored Antarctica in the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, and the North Pole. And one of his documentaries is when he went up to the North Pole and found those lands that I showed you. Is the documentary on it. And he says that those flying saucers that everybody's been seeing, he calls them flugerods.
Hey, will you look that guy up?
Admiral Richard E. Byrd, and it's spelled B-R-Y-D.
I want to look up this documentary later.
It's actually a flight log. He took a flight from, that's Admiral Richard E. Byrd. Yeah, you can do that. So he went up to the North Pole. So when he left Spitzenberg Island, which is north of Iceland and stuff, he was on his way to the North Pole. He had a pilot with him and a radio guy or something like that with him, and he was flying. He was supposed to be flying over ice because that's what we were told. There's a bunch of ice up at the North Pole, but he saw a mountain range that he never saw before. So if you can pull up that North Polar projection again, where that shows the North Pole, the older looking map, he started to see that small mountain range, and he started not that one. The North Polar projection. I don't know if that's what it's called there.
It was
It was the one that I sent him. Yeah, it's in his.
It had the
messages.
mountain in the middle of it, right?
Right. So he's
there, yeah.
Yep. So he started to see. So if you go down to Greenland. Yep, the island. Now go to the right. Go to the right. No, go to the water. Go over, right up a little farther. Right about there is about where I think he started to see this, because Spitzenberg Island is just below where your arrow is, where he left. So he started to see these mountain range, and he started to record it. And once he got over those mountain ranges, all the snow disappeared, and the weather became in the 70s, and he was flowing over rolling hills and trees. And while he was up there, he spotted a mammoth. And to confirm it was a mammoth, he circled around it twice to confirm it was a real mammoth. This is a true story. This is 100% true. And then as he was flying, these saucers flew off on either side of him. And they took control of his aircraft and made him land. And he called them flugerods. And he said that these people spoke with like a Germanic accent. They welcomed him. And they asked him to go, they invited him to go see what they called the master. And they went to this city that was like a whole crystalline city up there that was shimmering. He said it was something like out of a Frank Lloyd Wright novel that was so like futuristic. And he went there to have a meeting with this guy called the master. And the master told him, you've been allowed here because you have noble character, but you got to go back and tell them that they can't be using atomic bombs. They can't be using that technology. You're not supposed to be using that. When Admiral Byrd came back and told the U.S. government that, they forced him into retirement, and then he died shortly after that. There's a conspiracy, I think it's true, that the government ended up killing Admiral Byrd because they didn't want him to tell what he found up there in the north. So this is all documented.
Man.
Yeah, I know there's a lot. Like I'm telling you, you would, if you were to get into this, it would take you months and months and months to pour over all the information on both sides. Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Like so, I knew I was going to try to unload a lot on you.
I mean, I thought that maybe the UFO thing was
Yeah.
kind of connected because honestly.
So what they are now? Think about this. They're not. So what do we call someone over here? An alien, right? A foreign alien or an illegal alien.
Mm-hmm.
So these aliens, they're from a different land. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's
So
what I'm saying.
I believe that the Garden of Eden is up there in the north, and those people, the reason why they have that type of technology is they never fell into sin. And if you don't fall into sin, you're going to have all the wisdom. So that's why they have the flying saucers and stuff like that. So I believe that the ones that they do have, they're actually they're called watchers. I guess they've been kind of watching us. And if you get into the UFO, you ever watch the Joe Rogan podcast and stuff like that? He's had some Navy pilots on that testify of seeing the UFOs and stuff like that. And now they also testified that these UFOs are turning off nuclear warheads and stuff.
Right.
Well, that goes right with what Richard Byrd said decades and decades ago about the atomics. So why are these Navy pilots saying the same thing that he said decades ago? So the UFOs are not from outer space; they're from other land.
You know what I mean?
Well, I'm just letting you know that's
Right.
that's where they come from. And they're just they're people. They're not another race. They're not another being. They're just in a whole different society, a whole different culture than us. Like the movie Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So if you look at our flat Earth map, the rings around, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So
Middle Earth.
like we're basically living in like the Middle Earth, where we got ice walls and the Game of Thrones and all that, and it's like we're really living in that type of world. So Hollywood, they always try to mask the truth with comedy and fiction, and they put flat Earth in commercials. They put it in movies. They put flat Earth maps everywhere. They just randomly place things like that.
So, is there anyone? How do you? Wow. I mean,
Did that blow your mind?
I'm like, oh boy.
I know it's a lot to unload.
What about how do we? I mean, is there anyone actively trying to seek the edge?
So you really can't go there. So so there is no edge to fall off. So when people think of the flat Earth, you think there's no edge. You've seen the Hebrew model of creation. We're sealed in. So they want to show Earth out in space where you can fall off into space. That's not what we're in.
Yeah.
So the edge that we know of would be the Antarctic Circle. It's literally called the Antarctic Circle.
Yeah.
It's anything beyond 60 degrees south. So there's a treaty called the Antarctic Treaty that bars independent travel. So if me and you wanted to go down there right now, we couldn't go explore. We would have to buy tickets on some cruise, and we could only go where they tell us we can go.
Look that up. Antarctic Treaty.
Yep, Antarctic. And there's over 30 or 60 nations that signed this? We're signed up with Russia, China, Australia. Why are we in a treaty? It's like the longest treaty that's never been broken between any nations ever. But why is this one not broken? Why is the Antarctic Treaty? Yeah, so they're trying to say we're trying to protect the penguins, or we're trying to protect the ice. No. Admiral Byrd, when he went to Antarctica, he has an old interview. It's called, this is real old. Some of your old listeners might know. It's called the Longines Chronicles, something that was like out in the 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s. It's like really in depth. It's kind of like the first podcast with, it's called Launching Chronicles. Admiral Byrd goes on there and says that when he went to Antarctica, he found ice-free land. He found lakes there that were 34 degrees that weren't frozen. And he said beyond the South Pole, there's a whole another continent bigger than America. Now, how, if you go beyond, according to the globe map, if you go beyond the South Pole, you're just going to start going north again. So did he run into Africa or Australia? No. He literally said beyond Antarctic South Pole, there's a whole nother continent as big as America. And I've seen maps like that. Hawaii found a map that they claim was over. This was in the Hawaiian Gazette, I think it was. They printed a map that they claim was over 1,000 years old, and it showed 33 continents on it. And according to Admiral Byrd's testimony, it lines up to what he's talking about, where these other lands are. So have you ever heard of like ship tracker or like a flight tracker where you can track these different flights?
Right, yeah.
So we can track the ships that go to Antarctica, and some of these ships are so far inland, according to the maps that you're seeing the tracker on, like they're thousands of miles inland. How is that possible? There must be some kind of shipping route that goes beyond there. It's, so there's a whole shipping route that goes out that way. So they're just hiding stuff from us. Because think about it. We're not going to go down to Antarctica. We're not going to book a flight.
Right. Right.
Exactly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Not me, but.
Now, people have tempted to go north.
Right.
There has been a few YouTubers that have, and they failed. There's no roads. You got to deal with the ice. You got to deal with the snow. You got to deal with that open ocean. Yeah, it's pretty dangerous. Right. I mean, it's really a whole thing to try to go on these expeditions.
Now,
like, you need millions of dollars to try to attempt this stuff.
Now, when you go to, we're going to switch gears a little bit.
Yeah.
But are you trying to bring awareness to this? Is that what your goal is?
Absolutely, 100%.
When you go to
Because
City Hall and stuff?
if the American people found out tonight that the Earth was flat, as I said, it's true, there would be a revolution by morning. Because there needs to be answers. They can't be teaching this to our kids. The truth is what's important. People say in America you can believe whatever you want to believe, right? I don't think that should be the case at all. I think the truth is what is important. The truth should be what is believed. The truth, because if you get into believing whatever look at the state of things we're in now. I don't want to get into that, but
yeah.
But
yeah, I know what
the
you
truth
mean.
is very important.
Yeah. Okay. So if everybody did, we found that out. Say it's true. What would happen next? I mean,
what I would like to see is there'd have to be, our government would basically have to be dismantled from top to bottom. Our whole education system, a whole structure of how we really live would have to be revamped, because we're not being taught real science. We're being taught a pseudoscience. And, look at where we're at today. If, was it 4,000 years ago they built the pyramids, and today we're building with vinyl siding? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
It's like we're supposed to be so advanced. We're not. We've actually gone backwards. We're living the movie Idiocracy. Have you ever seen the movie?
Yeah, I've seen that.
That movie is literally a documentary on how we're living today.
So what made you go to City Hall? Like, how did you get fired up about that?
So actually, there was a council member there, Cody Horbaz. He had mentioned my name over it, and got me involved that way. He mentioned my name one night at a council meeting, and I decided to go. And I said, well, I might as well tell these people the truth of the Earth being flat, because it's important. And I was really hoping they would be open-minded like you've been, and they would hear me out. But no, it was the complete opposite. They hated me. They didn't like me. And then after a while, people came around and started giving me interviews and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just started going to City Hall because I wanted I wanted our city to realize what the truth was and pass a law saying that the deception of the globe can't be taught in our city. I just wanted it to be out there to be known. And because they kept rejecting me about it, I just kept going because I knew it had to be.
Kind of poked the bear a little bit.
Yeah, I just kept going. But then it developed into other stories because I realized that if I wanted other media in town to share my videos, I would have to talk about city business. So that's why I started going to City Hall, was to really tell them about Flat Earth.
Yeah. That's what that's one guy was asking me. He's like, ask him what, like, if they just believed you, what would the next step be?
Yeah, I still want them to pass a law.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to bring this up higher, but I think we should start here in the city and we can move forward there. But most people are brainwashed. They're not going to hear this out.
So you told me you have spoken or written letters to the vice president.
So I didn't write a letter, but when she was in Las Vegas in October, I went out to Las Vegas last October for the Flattoberfest, which is this weekend. By the time this airs, I don't think it's already going to be past. Sorry, you missed out on the Flat Earth
podcast
Fest.
will probably be out by this weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the Flat Earth Festival is this weekend. So I went out there, and she just happened to be in Vegas at that time. And I was down at the Vegas sign, with the famous sign where people take their picture, Las Vegas. I was down there. I had my own sign saying the earth is flat, and people are loving it. People were taking pictures with me and stuff like that. But her motorcade went by twice. And the second time that she went by, they were going like really slow, and I had my sign. We made eye contact, and she read my sign. And she looked at me, and I can tell she was clueless. I could tell she was not in on it.
Yeah.
I could tell she had no clue. So most people don't know. Like our Congresswoman, Elise Stefanik, I've talked to her about the earth being flat. Now, she's been on Air Force One during a launch from Cape Kennedy. So she's going to believe that they're really launching. She's not in on it. She just believes it. That's how most people really are. Now, like the astronauts, they know they're not in space. So these astronauts that are supposedly stuck in space right now, guess where they are? They're in Houston at the Natural Buoyancy Laboratory. Do you know that they have the International Space Station model inside of a pool there? Have you ever seen those pictures?
I've seen video of.
Yeah, that's where they shoot all the International Space Station footage.
Really?
Yeah, it's in Houston. You know that song? It's called Californication.
Yeah.
And then they talk about space is the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
Right.
It's true. Space is made in a Hollywood basement.
Definitely been a little bit skeptical of the moon landing footage.
Yeah, so the moon landing is completely fake. Buzz Aldrin has now come out and admitted several times. There's plenty of video with him admitting that they never went. There's a great video of a little girl who's like 8 years old asked Buzz Aldrin, I said, why haven't we been back to the moon? And Buzz Aldrin, after years of lying, he just couldn't lie to that little girl anymore. And he says, I think I know why. It's because we never went. He says that. And he said that several times. He even said it on, I think it was David Letterman's show, that he's like, we seen you. David Letterman says, we seen you on TV. He goes, oh no, that was a set. He literally says that to people.
Really?
Yes.
Man, I gotta look into this. But no,
Yeah.
I was, I don't know, a little skeptical of that. But and that's why I was like, you know what? Why haven't we been back? Why haven't we been mining it? Or
the
something,
moon is not a solid surface. The moon is transparent and translucent. So the moon creates its own light. Moonlight is not the same as sunlight. It's not the sun isn't reflecting off the moon. The moon creates its own light.
One of the guys was asking me, he's like, well, he said he brought up the point, why can we see the moon during the day?
Because now the video that I just sent on his text, it's called See-Through Moon. So this video I shot here in Watertown during the day of the moon, and it shows the moon. You can see the blue through it. So you see, can't you see through the moon? You're looking through the moon. And then at nighttime, you can see the black behind it. So why is that changing? It's because the moon isn't a solid, rocky, dusty object like we've been told. It's a luminary. It's its own light. It's transparent, which means light passes through it, and we can see through it. There's plenty of videos that we have. I didn't send it to you, but where we can see stars behind the moon as the moon is moving in front of the stars. How is that possible if the moon is a rock?
I did see the eclipse from Thompson, Florida.
Okay. Did you see the moon approach?
No.
Did you see the moon afterwards?
No.
Then how do we know it was the moon? Right? Exactly. We would be able to see the moon approach it and then it leave. That's not what we watched.
All right. So another thing, the same guy that brought up the moon thing, he also brought up the fact that he's been up in a helicopter, went straight up, and
Yes.
then landed right back where he took
That's
off.
because the Earth is motionless.
Boy.
So if the Earth was truly moving,
Yeah.
like they say, so if you're at the North Pole and to their science fiction ball Earth, you're not really going to be spinning much. You're at the North Pole. But if you're down here like New York, I think they say it's somewhere around 700 miles an hour versus if you're on the equator, it's like moving at 1,000. So you're saying if you're flying from New York to Florida, by the time you get down to Florida, Florida might be moving 800 miles an hour sideways. So you're saying you got to come in faster than the plane's moving to land? All right. They're saying 1,000 mile an hour spin. Mm-hmm. I mean, planes fly east and west all the time. Are we spinning faster than the speed of sound? Think about how fast this is. What's the fastest aircraft that we have?
Heck, I don't know. I'm assuming it's some sort of fighter jet.
Well, kind of. It's like the SR-71 Blackbird, and it can go like Mach 3 point something, like 3.2 or 3, which is somewhere around 2,100 miles an hour. Think about how fast 2,100 miles an hour is. That's pretty fast. Now they're telling
exactly
us
what I was imagining.
Yeah.
Was that in Top Gun too, by the way?
No, Top Gun had the F-14. That's a Navy thing. I know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
So
when
that's
he
Air
passed
Force. The
out,
Air Force
yeah,
has the SR-71.
Wow.
So, yeah, like the F-14s, I think can hit Mach 2, maybe like 1.7 or something like that. The 14s can get. But if you think about these speeds, the speeds don't add up. They're telling us that satellites and the International Space Station is moving at 17,000 miles an hour. If a satellite is moving at 17,000 miles an hour, it's going to be over us for a blink of an eye. And how are you ever going to use something like that for communications? Any satellites that we do have are attached to balloons. Remember the balloon story that came out? That's where they... Oh, here's another one for
what
you.
balloon story?
The spy balloon that
that
went
we shot
across.
down in
Yeah, the
South
one we shot down.
Carolina, boy.
Yeah, all satellites that
Yeah.
we do have are attached to balloons. NASA is the largest consumer of helium of anybody in the whole world. They produce and consume more helium than anybody else. Why? Because NASA uses balloons for these launches, for these satellite balloon launches. And they use them in their rockets. They use the helium. Like most of these rockets that you think are like a solid rocket, they're big old balloons.
Donnie, you have studied up on this stuff.
Oh, I know so much. Like we need more than an hour to cover just a piece of this topic.
Man,
Yeah.
dude. I am not a scientist or an expert in anything. Like I said, I came in this as a regular guy,
Right.
just going off of what I've taught, and I don't really have an argument. I don't think I've always been kind of skeptical of things, and especially like the moon landing. I'm like, I don't know about that, and the why. I've always questioned why haven't we gone back to the moon. Never have I been in outer space.
Exactly. Nobody has. And if we really did go there, companies would be there. There'd be 7-Elevens and McDonald's all through the universe by now. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm thinking, why haven't we? I don't know. I haven't looked it up, but why hasn't there been just constantly? I mean, I'm assuming it costs a lot of money, but there's a lot of money in the world. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I figure I would have flew to the moon and built something if I had the money.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah, people. If we could really do that, we would already have been done it. That's
yeah,
what I'm saying. Like they keep putting things off. Think about. Do you remember back when Virgin Galactic in the early 2000s was trying to put people in space? They were calling it the
yes,
X Prize. Oh,
yep.
the first one to get the X Prize and to put someone in space, and then that kind of fizzled out and did nothing.
Hmm.
Donald Trump, when he was president, was talking to the astronauts and was asking them, when are we going back to the moon? And they were like, oh, we're going to go back in 2024. Do you know what they did? They pushed it off again. They keep pushing the bar back because we can't go. Now, if you look this up, I think his name is Don Pettit. Maybe I'm getting his name wrong, but he's a spokesperson for NASA. And if you ask him why we haven't been back to the moon, he's going to say, because they destroyed the technology and it's a difficult process to build it back. Yep, there he is. There's a video of him. He's been asked, why haven't we been back to the moon? And he said, because they're saying that they destroyed the technology, the data that took us to the moon. Why would they destroy that information? And that it would be a difficult process to build it back up.
What?
Yeah, he's just an actor. So
Really?
all astronauts are actors. They're actronauts.
Really?
Yes. They're lying to us. They're just paid actors. They're going to sell it to you. They're going to build Bill Nye the Science Guy. He's going to sell it to you. Neil deGrasse
I like
Tyson.
Bill Nye.
He's going to sell it to you. They're going to really sell the globe because that's what they're being paid for. They're actors.
And is there any one of them who have came out and said that they have been paid to lie?
Well, I don't know about like that part, but
You
Buzz
know what I
Aldrin
mean?
has admitted that he never went to the moon. There's several videos of that. There's a great video. This is cool. You can look up. It's called "A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon," and I think it's like a BBC documentary, and it shows them faking the moon, them going to the moon by showing the camera. They're telling the people that the camera is right in the window, and the Earth is, I don't know, 250,000 miles away or something like that. But it's not. The camera's way back in the room, and they're just showing a small window, and it's the window itself that's causing the Earth to look curved. It's called "The Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon," and it's pretty long, but it's a good documentary about that. And there's another one called "Astronauts Gone Wild," and this guy, his name is is it Bert Bert Seibel, and what he did, he took a Bible, he went to all the astronauts that said they landed on the moon and asked them to swear upon the Holy Bible if they landed on the moon. He got punched in the face. He got kicked. And he literally got kicked. He got threatened by one of the kids of the astronauts threatened, said, "Hey, Dad, should we call the CIA and have him whacked?"
What?
Yes. So he would. If it's a simple question, if you landed on the moon, swear on the Bible that you did. None of these astronauts would swear on the Bible that they would go. Why? Why would they lie? Why wouldn't you take the time to say, yes, I landed on the moon. I went there. This guy he's a legitimate journalist. He worked for ABC Digital. So he's not like a nobody.
Yeah.
So it's out there if you look, but the way everything is mainstream media is not going to put it out there. They want to keep it a secret. They don't want you to know this.
Man.
You're probably going to get canceled now. You're canceled.
No. It's hard to cancel a podcast, bro.
Right. Right.
But no, but like I said, I've been curious, and if that my whole thing wanting to do this was, I wanted to know, wanted to talk to you. If you feel like you're a very interesting guy, I watched a little 15-minute documentary on how you held Watertown hostage or something. I was like, what the heck? No way, dude. And dude, and I feel like you have plenty of points like that I cannot without just fact checking everything.
Right. So I would love. So you mentioned the eclipse.
Yes.
So back when they were planning all that, I started to go to some of the eclipse meetings. And have you heard of the SciTech Center here in Watertown? So we have a site. I think they just moved out of their building because they had some issues. But the gentleman who was involved with that, I tried to get him to debate me. I wanted him to, talk to me about the whole heliocentric versus the flat Earth. He didn't want nothing to do with it.
Who was it?
I can't remember his name, but he worked for the SciTech.
Science, technology,
yeah,
is what that means?
Yeah, the SciTech Center. He was part of the Eclipse Committee, and he didn't want nothing to do with the debate. He didn't want to discuss it. But, I mean, there's nothing for him to stand on.
Yeah.
I blow him out of the water with anything.
Huh. I mean, honestly, I was like, maybe I need to get somebody that could make this a little more interesting because I feel like I'm just going to sit here and go, oh, okay.
Oh, I would actually love to talk to a professor and stuff.
Yeah.
Anybody that, I would love it. I would destroy them.
Yeah.
Because I already know more about the heliocentric model than they would.
But would you be open to, like, if they have some good points? You know what I mean?
Well, I know it's to be false, but I mean, whatever point that they could come up, I would be able to show them that it's not true. It's pseudoscience. Because science has to be observable, testable, and repeatable. So how come nobody's when I look at a star, how come it's not like what NASA's showing me? You know what I mean? Well, when I look at a planet, it's not like what NASA shows me.
Airplane thing, on the flying with the planet moving, like that doesn't make sense. I really can't.
And then like flight paths prove this. So if you look up, like emergency landings, like for example, there was a plane that was leaving Los Angeles that was flying to Indonesia. If you look at a globe, it looks like you would just fly across the Pacific Ocean. You would kind of like fly over Hawaii. So you know what I mean? Over to Indonesia from LA. They had an emergency. Some lady was pregnant and was giving birth. So they had to land the plane. And they were halfway through their flight. So halfway through their flight, if you're looking at a globe, looks like they should land in Hawaii. Right? Guess where they landed? They landed in Alaska. So if you want to pull up that Gleason's map again, I'll show you why they would land in Alaska versus Hawaii if they're flying into, nope, not that one, the other map. The Gleason's map. I think I sent it in his text. It was in his text. That map right there. So if you go where to LA is, so you see where LA is? So then you fly straight up, keep going, and to the left a little bit, go down. So that's about where Indonesia is. So that's why when they left LA, they landed in Alaska. Because they're not flying anywhere near over Hawaii. But if you looked at a globe, it would look like that would be the shortest route that makes sense. You ever notice, like when flights fly over to Europe, they always pass over New York and go up through Canada and up through and they always fly across Greenland? Boom. That's why. Earth is flat, my man. That's why they call it sea level. Sea level. It's flat.
So to sum it up, we are not in some kind of mechanical TV projector kind of done.
No.
We are in something created by a divine spirit.
Absolutely.
That is basically like
I call it a realm.
Yeah.
We live in our own realm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't want to call it like a fish tank looking in, but it's just
a reverse snow globe.
Right.
Where the water's on the outside of our dome. Right.
Right. Wow. And that's where rain comes from. No, I'm kidding.
So we do our windows of heaven. When God flooded the earth, he opened the windows. So, water has poured in from the firmament.
Wow. Oh man, that's a lot to think about.
It is.
It is a lot.
It is.
It is a lot.
And I just wanted to let everybody know, if you want more information on this,
Yeah.
I got my YouTube channel is really not that great for learning, because I do more interviews than anything else with people. But there's some really great teachers. So there's I want to drop his name, flatearthdave.com, and you can go there, and he has an app you can get. It's called the what's it called? The Sun, Moon, and Star map. It's basically, it has all the videos about flat Earth. It has all your questions like why the lie, what about belts over the horizon, what about stars, any question that you can think of. What about eclipses, anything like that? He's going to be able to answer them for you. It's called flatearthdave.com. He's really good. You can check him out. And then on YouTube, it's Flat Earth Dave Interviews. And then one of my other favorite channels is called Celebrate Truth. And it's Christian driven, but it's the truth about creation, it's the truth about the Bible and where we're living. So those are some really good. Because if you try Googling this on your own and looking it up, you're going to be sent down a debunker lane,
Right.
and you're not going to find the good stuff. Yeah, so this is the app you can get. It's like, I don't know, it's like $2.99. You might be able to email them and get it for free. You know, just tell them Donnie from Watertown sent you over there. Maybe he'll give it to you for free. I've had it before, but I've had so many different phones since then.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't re-downloaded it. But it shows how the sun and moon move above the earth and our seasons. Our seasons are caused because of the path of the sun. So in our summers, the sun makes tighter circles around the north. And then in our winter, as it's starting to do now, it's making larger concentric circles moving towards the outside, moving down, moving away from us. So that's why it goes lower in the sky. So where our sun is relative, whether it's over the Tropic of Cancer, or whether it's over the equator or the Tropic of Capricorn, that determines where our seasons are. Not because of the tilt of the earth.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Dude, look, I think we'll wrap it up right there.
All right.
Appreciate
it was
you,
great.
Donnie.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Nice to meet you, dude.
That was cool.
Well, did you really